Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be talking about Iceland, and more specifically waterfalls in Iceland. And before I get started, I just want to let you know, if you have any questions, ask them down below. I really enjoy answering questions and any doubts you have. And if you're interested in other things that you can do in Iceland, I'll put the links down below to my Iceland vlogs. You can get some great ideas for things to do there. And yeah, so Iceland, an amazing place, a bit expensive, but what an experience. And yeah, of course, people go there to see the natural wonders and things like the volcanoes, the black sand beaches, the glaciers, the natural hot springs and all things like that. But I think that Iceland is most famous for the waterfalls. It's got so many waterfalls and each one's completely different. But if you're going to Iceland for a short trip, it's very difficult to sort of choose which waterfalls to see and which ones to skip over. And that's the problem that I had while I was over there. So what I wanted to do is sort of a top 10 list of waterfalls that you should definitely see and not skip over. And if you want to go and see more, that's great, but these are the 10 that you should really sort of try and visit. So without further ado, here are the top 10 waterfalls to visit in Iceland. Okay, so first on the list are actually two waterfalls together, Hraunfossar and Barnafoss. They're located in western Iceland, about an hour and a half drive northeast of Reykjavik. And you can see here, this is the first one, which is Hraunfossar, which is like a long stretch of river. And you have different sort of waterfalls coming out of a lava field and flowing into the turquoise, blue water. Really, really nice. It sounds absolutely amazing with the birds flying around, and they have some great lookouts to see it from. And then about 50 to 100 meters further up, you have the second one, which is Barnafoss. You can see here. It's the same river, but sort of the water gets channeled into this sort of really narrow part of the river, and it creates this sort of white water effect, and it's really sort of loud, roaring water coming through. So it's two waterfalls, but completely different. And it just looks amazing because you can do a sort of walk along with your kids. There are lookouts, as I said. You can take beautiful photos. You can cross this bridge up to the lookout point at the top, which is here, and you can see there obviously really nice footpaths, really easy for anyone to sort of see. And then they have these lookouts to take photos of both the waterfalls, and I just think it's definitely an experience people should see, and it's great for the family and just to spend a couple of hours looking at these two different waterfalls in such a beautiful country. Okay, so at number 9 we have Selfoss, which is a really powerful waterfall in the northern part of Iceland. So if you are visiting the north, definitely stop to take a picture of this one. It's a lot more powerful than Barnafoss and Hraunfossar, as you can see. And what's beautiful about this is it actually falls from both sides, from the east and from the west, sort of like a Niagara Fall effect. About a 10-meter drop, but really, really loud, with this roaring water that really makes waterfalls feel that much more spectacular. And the good thing about this is that it's actually close to Dettifoss, which is the sort of more famous waterfall in this stretch of river. You can see it here just at the bottom of the picture, that's Dettifoss. But you can park in the same car park, and then it's more or less a 20-minute walk from Dettifoss to see Selfoss, and it's well worth a look and take a photo. Especially people say that it's one of the best photos to take at sunrise or at sunset. Okay, so next up on the list is Gullfoss. This is probably the most visited waterfall in Iceland, I would say, due to its location, which is in the Golden Circle. It's about an hour and a half drive east from Reykjavik, and you can get there sort of using any tour bus, and it's really easy to get to, and that's why there's so many people. It's about a 5-minute walk from the car park, which is free, and you get to this point where you can see sort of the waterfall, both stages of the waterfall, and then you take a walk along a path up to this sort of outcrop, and you can see where the waterfall starts here. Firstly, there's a sort of shallow drop where the water sort of turns white. And then about 50 meters further down, as you can see, there's the big 21-meter drop that falls into the huge crevice and causes the water vapor to sort of come out. It looks really amazing and sounds really impressive. And I think it's just a really good waterfall to visit, mainly because the location is really good. But you can sort of see it from two viewpoints, one right at the top, and take an amazing photo. And then you can walk down this sort of beautiful path. Get wet a bit, so remember to take a raincoat. And then up to the outcrop where you can sort of see it falling down into the crevice, the water disappearing. The only downside to this is it's so close to Reykjavik and on the Golden Circle, so there are a lot of people, so you're not going to get it to yourself like other waterfalls, but it's still definitely worth a look, and yeah, well worth taking a photo here and showing it off to your friends on Instagram. Okay, number 7 we have Godafoss, which actually translates to the waterfall of the gods. It's a 30-minute drive eastwards from Akureyri, which is the second biggest city in Iceland. So that's northern Iceland, so if you're travelling around the ring road you'll be able to see it. Really, really good waterfall, very similar to Selfoss, but there are a few differences, and that's what makes it one of my favourite waterfalls in Iceland. One of the reasons is that you can actually go down to the water's edge here and you can sort of feel how powerful the water is. Then you can go up to the top on the east bank and you can see it from there all the way down the river, and you can actually see that it's blue turquoise water again, so it's not the grey sort of water of Dettifoss or Selfoss. And then you can also go onto the other side, the west bank, and there's a really nice walk up there and you can get really close to the edge. As you can see here, you can get some great photos, some great videos. Just be really careful with your children because there are no sort of fences or anything to stop you go right to the edge. Some people even went closer than I did. Yeah, you just really feel the powerful water flowing down this river, and I can understand why they call it the waterfall of the gods. Just so impressive, and you know, you can see the whole width of the river as you sort of walk up and down, you know, both banks. Just amazing. Okay, so now we're getting into the really sort of famous ones. This is Seljalandsfoss, beautiful waterfall in the south of Iceland. It's also going to be busy if you go there because it's about 1.5 hour, 1 hour 45-minute drive from Reykjavik. So once again, there are a lot of people, a lot of tourists, a lot of tour buses. Very easy to get there, right off Route 1, which is the ring road. And it's just a really special waterfall to visit because, as you can see, you can actually walk all the way behind it. It's a really impressive waterfall. There's not that much water falling off, you know, sort of this mountain cliff, but it does fall 60 meters, so it's, you know, makes a huge noise when it hits the sort of mini lake at the bottom. And you can see here that it's all flat, and then you reach this sort of cliff area, and yeah, the water just falls right off the top. So when you walk behind it, you can see here, really beautiful. It's the only waterfall you can actually walk behind, I think, in Iceland. And yeah, you can see the water falling. You can take different shots. If you're a photographer, you can get some great shots here. But as I said, a lot of people, and you're gonna have to sort of take your turn to take a nice photo. And you can see my wife there; she's getting wet. That's one thing you have to remember. You're gonna have to take a waterproof coat, and be careful with your cameras because they're definitely gonna get wet. Okay, so next up we have Skogafoss, which is an amazing waterfall, and it's actually only a 30-minute drive from Seljalandsfoss, further along the ring road, Route 1. And once again, it's just a short walk from the ring road. You can park just in the car park there. There's also a really nice cafe here. Yeah, the same height as Seljalandsfoss, 60 meters, but you can see here it's a lot wider, a lot more powerful, a lot more water. So yeah, just a lot more impressive in general. Just be careful, you know, when you get too close, you get completely soaked. And obviously with the lenses on your camera, as you can see mine, gets loads of water droplets on it. It was very difficult to get a photo close up without getting soaked. But yeah, you can go right to the water's edge and you know, have a typical photo. And then after that, if you're feeling up to it, you can walk up the steps which they've built. I think anyone can walk up it as long as you don't have any sort of heart problems and things like that, because it is quite high. But yeah, you can get to the top and you can see the water falling off the cliff's edge, falling down into the river below. And you're also presented with an amazing view of the coast and the green mountains of Iceland. So yeah, typical Iceland view with you know, the sound of the roaring water falling over the cliff's edge. Okay, at number 4 we have Dettifoss. First of all, I'm going to take you back to Selfoss, the images I had there, so you can get an idea of where it is. It's about a kilometre further north up the river, and that's where you have the sort of fall off. Absolutely amazing waterfall, the most powerful in Europe, 44-metre drop and the biggest in Iceland, one you definitely can't miss if you come to the north of Iceland. And yeah, free car park. You can take a walk first to Selfoss and then to Dettifoss, or the other way around. One that you can take a really nice walk along the path. You'll be able to see it now when I zoom in. The only problem I had was it was really cold and really windy, that's why there weren't many people. But I imagine on a beautiful day, this walk along here, listening to the roaring waters must be amazing. It's been in so many films because it's so powerful. Just one you cannot miss, and one that I'd highly recommend taking your time to drive to Northern Ireland just to see. Okay, so we're into the top 3 now. This one is Dynjandi. If you're not going to the West Fjords, you're not going to be able to see it because it's in the heart of the West Fjords, which is quite a long way. It's actually a 5-hour drive north from Reykjavik, and you do actually need a good vehicle because a lot of the roads, you know, don't have asphalt. They're sort of just dirt roads. We were able to spend 2 or 3 days in the Western Fjords. It was absolutely amazing, and this is one of the highlights of my sort of time in the West Fjords. Basically, it's a waterfall that falls 100 meters, but it does it in different stages. The first fall is the biggest drop, and then they gradually get smaller and smaller as they get down to, you know, the actual fjord when they flow into the sort of clear, calm waters. The car park's right next to the fjord. You can see here in the background, absolutely amazing. And basically, you just sort of walk up in stages. You can take photos of each waterfall. Each waterfall's got a different name. I think Dynjandi is the name for the biggest one, or maybe it might be, you know, for the sort of a group of waterfalls together. But I had such a great time here because you can sort of take your time walking up bit by bit, about 20 minutes, half an hour. You can take photos all the way up, you know, of the fjord behind you, of the waterfall ahead of you, and it was just so beautiful. And, there weren't many people. The only problem we had was there were a lot of mosquitoes this sort of morning, but I think that's natural when the sun comes out. And yeah, it's just one of these waterfalls that I'll always remember because we got so many photos. We took our time, we were on our own basically, and it was just so beautiful. Each waterfall was better than the next, and when we got right up to the top, it was just so impressive as the water fell down, you know, off this cliff, and the sun was actually rising behind us, or behind the waterfall, and it was lighting up the sort of fjord in the background, which was, you know, reflecting, you know, all the mountains. It was just, you know, one of these moments that we'll never forget. So if you can get up to the West Fjords, you've got to stop at Dynjandi. For me, it was probably, the experience was the best experience of all the waterfalls in Iceland, even though it's not that powerful and it's, you know, it's not that loud. But just, you know, having breakfast that morning, walking up and being able to see this amazing waterfall in different stages and take so many photos and spend it with my wife, it's just something that I highly recommend, and I think you've got to try and do it, definitely, if you go to the West Fjords. At number 2 we have Haifoss, I think that's how it's pronounced. We actually went to this waterfall on our way to the Highlands. It is in southern Iceland, but it's quite off the beaten track, and to get there you need to go on a really difficult road, and it's, you know, you have to have a 4x4, otherwise you won't get there. It's about a 30-minute drive off the main road on the way to the Highlands, but well worth it if you do have a 4x4. There's a small car park, and then you sort of walk down, about a 10-minute walk down to the cliffs, where you can see this 122-metre waterfall, you know, falling off the side of the valley, crashing down onto the sort of rocks below it. It sounds absolutely amazing because the valley actually makes a sort of echo, and it was just, I think it sounded like the most powerful waterfall, a lot powerful than Skogafoss, even though the fall or the water falling is a lot narrower. One of the things I did like about it, apart from the drive up there, which I really enjoyed, is that you can see here I actually went a bit further down, and it falls into a beautiful valley which sort of flows off into the distance. And I know that you can hike down there and actually see the waterfall from the bottom, but I'm not sure how long that would take and where you'd have to go down, because it does look quite treacherous. But yeah, one of these waterfalls you've got to see if you are going to the Highlands, and one that I recommend to everybody. Okay, so finally we got to number 1, and as you can see here, it's Svartifoss. I really love this waterfall. The thing with this waterfall is, it's not only the waterfall which I enjoyed, it's actually the walk up there. It's in southern Iceland, but you do need to take about a 45-minute walk up to where the waterfall is. There's a car park and everything with a cafe and lots of sort of things, and it's easy to get to, but it is quite sort of a long walk, especially if it's cold. We were lucky we had a sunny day, and I really enjoyed sort of walking up to this waterfall. On the way there are a couple of smaller waterfalls, but what we wanted to see is Svartifoss, and as you can see here, it's you know, a really particular waterfall because it falls over some basalt columns, which is I think it's the only waterfall that actually does that in Iceland, and you can get really close up to it. You can cross a wooden bridge and it takes you right to the bottom. And although it isn't the biggest or the loudest or, you know, the most impressive waterfall, I think the surroundings of these basalt columns make for a beautiful photo, as well as a beautiful walk up to the top. We just had a great afternoon. We were really happy that it was warm. We got there, we were able to sit and have a picnic next to the waterfall, take some photos, and it was just so original that it just blew me away, and it has to be my favourite waterfall to see in Iceland. Okay guys, that's it, my top 10. Let me know what you think down below. Ask any questions also down below. I love answering questions, and I really appreciate you checking out this video. Please like, subscribe and comment. Take care.